Hey guys, welcome back to another tier list video that I haven't made in a long time, but I've wanted to do one. I just don't know what to do about it. So, yeah, we're doing it again. And a little while ago, I did a poll asking you guys if I should. I had two ideas, being a tier list on every MCU movie and TV show that came out in 2023, as well as another one about every single DCEU movie that has come out. You guys voted the MCU one for me to do first. I'll do the DCEU one later. So for now, we're going to talk about the MCU, all the movies and TV shows that have come out in 2023. This is part four of a tier list MCU series that I started a while ago, because part one was the Infinity Saga, parts two and three were everything from phase four, with part two about everything from 2021, and part three about everything that came out in 2022. And so now for part four, we have everything from phase five in 2023. I think you get it. So yeah, that's what we're doing. If you're wondering why it took a little while for this, I was waiting for my new webcam to come in, which of course you're seeing me through. So that's why it took a little while to make this. But yeah, we're here now. So um, feel like I talk about this every single time I do a video on the MCU. I've talked about it over and over again. Like whenever I react to a new trailer or do a review on a movie, which I haven't done in a little while. But do I hate the MCU? No, I don't. So, like there have been so many videos recently in the past couple of years bashing the MCU, talking about it sucks now. Well, there was some before, like before Endgame and all that, but once Phase 4 started, there were more and more, and it feels like it's taken over the internet. And like, Phase 4 isn't as good as the Infinity Saga, blah blah blah, and all that. And I don't entirely agree. I do agree that it's not as good, like because the Infinity Saga, all the movies felt like they were connected. It felt like when you would watch a new movie, this is going to connect to this. And it was really satisfying when we eventually did get to, Infinity War and Endgame. The Multiverse Saga, on the other hand, phases 4 and 5 and 6, has not felt the same. It just kind of feels like they're throwing so much out and they haven't really been connecting all that much. There are exceptions, of course, like WandaVision connecting the Multiverse of Madness. Yelena was introduced in Black Widow, and then she popped up in Hawkeye. So there are exceptions, but for the most part, they've just been throwing so much out there. And I do understand the complaint too. For casual fans, it's difficult to keep up with all of that. Like, there's so much to keep track of, that to the point where people aren't even bothering seeing these movies in theaters. They'll just wait till it comes out on Disney Plus. So I'm like still invested in the MCU. I'm still interested to see where it goes. Like I'm really curious. I'm excited for Deadpool 3, and I'm really curious to see what Avengers Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars are going to be like. But yeah, it's definitely not as well planned out. I'll say that. And I've actually enjoyed most of the movies and TV shows, even though there are a couple that didn't really hit the nail. Like She Hulk was definitely that was something. And I have not seen Eternals since it came out in the theaters. Or I got to rewatch that sometime because I don't remember it being that good. So anyway, so everything from 2023, we of course have three movies and three Disney Plus shows, or one show and then two season twos of previous shows. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So of course, we're going to start with the first movie, that being Ant-Man Wasp Quantumania, which got pretty good opening weekend, but then immediately dropped. And then, critics gave it bad reviews, and it's one of the lowest rated Marvel movies on Letterboxd too. And I did a video on it when it first came out, and I said that I enjoyed it. Now watching it again another time and thinking back on it, no, I don't really. That opinion doesn't really hold up anymore. I think I'll put it in bad. Um, yeah, like just so it's definitely not very good. Like you can already figure that out. Like the problem with this movie, it has a very similar problem to Ant-Man and the Wasp, the second Ant-Man movie, in that it doesn't really feel like, oh, we want to tell the story, because the first Ant-Man, that felt like there was a story they wanted to tell, like Edgar Wright wanted to. But then the second and third one, oh, we'll just make Ant-Man sequels because, well, every solo Marvel movie needs to have multiple movies. That's the formula. So we got to do that same thing for Ant-Man. That's what it feels like. Like that's why Ant-Man and Wasp wasn't great, and like only the credits scene was important, like leading into Endgame. Quantumania, same problem. It doesn't feel like, oh, we want to tell a story about Ant-Man. No, it just feels like, well, we need a third Ant-Man movie, obviously. And like it doesn't even feel like the first two as well. Like the fact that the first two were fun because, oh, he can shrink, he can go tiny, and you really feel that. You're seeing him walk on newspapers, and like you're seeing him talk to, or like he's interacting with ants and all these things, and it really does feel like, oh man, he's tiny. This does not have that same feeling because like 90% of the thing is set inside the quantum realm, and size there pretty much doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that they can shrink anymore because they're inside the quantum realm where everything is tiny, or I guess their regular size and all that. So it's just not as fun. And it feels like the first two felt more like heist movies. This one feels more like a sci-fi Star Wars like kind of movie. It's really weird. Or like I get it. You want to explore the quantum realm more, but it ends up feeling like it's not even a part of the same series anymore. I don't know. And then you of course have Kang the Conqueror, or it struggles. Is this an Ant-Man movie or is it a Kang movie? It tries to do both and it doesn't really do it well, because like Kang has that issue of, oh, I want to fix the multiverse or take it over, whatever it was, and like, oh, it's dying and all that. Oh, okay, but why? Like, why? Like, what is your motivation? Why do you want to destroy the multiverse? I can't even remember what he was talking about in that scene, but I do remember asking, okay, why should I care? Like, what is your motivation? And Jonathan Majors' performance is really good. Like he does like a capture my attention anytime he's on screen. But he's just not very well developed yet. And now with Jonathan Majors being fired, it does. I'm not even sure if they're going to continue on this with this Kang storyline. Like, are they going to like? I don't even know if Kang Dynasty is still going to be called that. So we'll have to see how that turns out. But yeah, not a great start for Kang. And almost forgot too, MODOK. What were they thinking? I don't know. I don't know what he was supposed to be. I kind of, it's a fun idea. Oh, he's Yellow Jacket from the first film. Like that's kind of fun. But it also feels like they just wanted him to be a joke, and he's not that funny, and the CG on him looks rough to say the least, which yeah, that's another thing too. The CG in this movie is really really bad. It really does look unfinished at times, like seriously. Another example of, oh, the visual effects artists are being overworked, underpaid, and are given strict deadlines because they got to commit to those darn release dates. Because yeah, that's yeah, everybody's been crapping on the MCU because of that. That is legitimate. That is a legitimate criticism. The fact that those visual effects artists need more recognition. Like we just had the writers and actors strike. They need to go on strike. Seriously. Even across Spider-Verse have that same problem where they're just being unfairly treated. And we're getting off topic. So, long story short, Quantum Mania not very good. But yeah, it's just another Marvel movie. It doesn't even feel like an Ant-Man movie anymore. So, yep, not a great start to Phase 5. Though, of course, the next movie was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is similar to No Way Home, in that it's the only Marvel movie after Endgame that is universally loved. Like, pretty much everybody agrees is great. So, which I definitely agree with. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is pretty darn good. I love the first two movies. Volume 2 in particular is a 10 out of 10 movie, and Volume 3 is pretty darn close to that. It's especially emotional too, knowing that James Gunn, this is the last time he's doing Marvel before he's moving on to DC, which we'll see how that turns out. And yeah, it's a great conclusion for the Guardians trilogy. You have a Star-Lord who goes back to Earth where he grew up, where he was born, and he gets to say hi to his grandfather who he hasn't seen in like 30 years. And then you have like Nebula who eventually it like accepts her robotic being that Thanos has given her. And like Drax finally gets to be the dad. Like he lost his wife and daughter, and then he gets to be a dad to all those kids that the High Evolutionary created, which is really nice. And who else? A Mantis ends with being her own person. And Groot's still the lovable character. Still, he's pretty much the same. Well, he's not really the same because, like, in Volume 2, he's like a baby. So he's not really the same, but he's still a lovable CGI character. I guess he's the same that way all throughout. And then, of course, Gamora, a little messy. Let's be honest, because, of course, he had the whole thing with, oh, this is an alternate timeline version of her. It's not the same Gamora from the first two. Like, it's a little weird. But I do kind of like her resolution about, oh, I'm not even gonna be with Quill anymore. I'm gonna hang out with the Ravagers. And of course, and actually too, Kraglin having that fun dynamic with Cosmo. And Adam Warlock is just he kind of felt like an afterthought. The only two important things he did was like severely injure Rocket, which does kickstart the movie, and save Quill at the end, and that's pretty much it. And saving the best for last, of course, that being Rocket. This is Rocket's movie, let's be honest. Like, he has the flashbacks of being with Lila, Teefs, and Floor, which really lovable, and you really do feel the connection between them and all the torture he goes through and all the animal cruelty. And you really do fully understand why he is the character we meet back in Volume 1, how he's that cold-hearted dude who's in it for the money, but deep down he does care. And in Volume 2, they even talk about, Yondu exposes how he just doesn't want to be friends with anybody because he's scared to grow connections. And now in Volume 3, I love that when he's like, I'm done running, and he goes back to save all the animals. And also when he finally gives them names himself, the name's Rocket Raccoon. Like, perfect, that's great. Hey, like, you really do feel the character development with him. And again, High Evolutionary, at first I wasn't a big fan of him, but then I grew to appreciate, oh, he's pure evil, but that's by design, like to contrast with the friendship of the Guardians. Like, that's kind of the point, that he doesn't have any good in him. He's pure evil. And it's like the one movie too where I can't think of a single moment where the CGI looked bad. It all around looked pretty good. and the action scenes really good, especially that hallway scene. Just yeah, I want to watch that scene. Just thinking about that, and like just playing No Sleep Till Brooklyn there. That's perfect, and definitely one of lesser soundtracks comparing to the previous two, but still pretty solid. And yeah, all around, not much else to say. Guardians 3 is great and definitely deserves all the love it's been getting. And the fact that it's the highest grossing Disney movie of 2023, like, yeah, it definitely deserves that. It's like the only movie that actually was a success and actually made a lot of money. That was my phone, if you're wondering. Hold on. Okay. So after that, then we of course have the Marvels, which as of recording this video, I have only seen it once in the theater, and I thought it was just okay. Just it was just okay. Like everybody's like pretty much the only thing people are talking about with this movie is the fact that it bombed, the fact that it's the lowest grossing MCU movie. I feel like that's all people are talking about with this because that's probably coming from the people who haven't even seen it, which is fair enough. Like it's definitely not a good movie, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Like I preferred it over Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel was just kind of a whatever. Like Captain Marvel herself was really lame, but I'll say in this one she does have more personality. Like Brie Larson actually makes her more of a fun character. So I thought that was an improvement. And then you of course have Monica Rambeau. She was fine, but Kamala Khan though, I really liked her in Miss Marvel, and it was really fun seeing her in a movie. And like the whole the switching places thing, that was kind of fun. There were times where it got a little too silly. You know, like they go to a planet where literally every character there sings. Like that, like that's it does that like that feels like a Disney movie. And probably the silliest though was that whole bit where the Flurkins were swallowing up all those people so they can evacuate. Like that was a little too much for me. Like I don't know about that. Um, and the CG is definitely not very good, as you probably expect. Oh, the villain too. Was definitely like the old school Marvel villains, where she's just the villain, where you gotta fight her, and that's pretty much all her whole character. She has a evil motivation, but we don't know. Yeah, it's really boring and lame. Not great, guys. And and I guess the only other thing people are talking about, I guess, is the credits scene where Kelsey Grammer comes back as Beast, who we hadn't seen since like the X-Men movies. And that was pretty exciting to see him there. And they're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Well, though, if I do remember this, I think the CG on him wasn't that good. Was it CG? Because like wasn't it makeup he had in X-Men: The Last Stand? Like, why is it? If that is CG, why would you do that? Just put makeup on him? Like, oh yeah, because everything's CG. That's right. Yeah. Not much else I could think of for the Marvels. Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that it's a shorter movie, but even then, I feel like there was stuff cut out. I'm not sure. I'm definitely gonna need to watch it again because I remember enjoying it. I think it was just okay. Like a lot of people are hating it. Like, no, it's not. People don't hate it because they're all female. Please get that stupid thought out of your head, guys. So now we move on to Disney Plus shows. So we have Secret Invasion, which Secret Invasion is definitely the She-Hulk of 2023, where a lot of people are bashing it and calling it the worst thing ever. Now I've only watched the whole thing one time, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't really remember it being bad. I'll put it in bad just by default because I honestly don't really remember it that well. Like, okay, you have Nick Fury who's coming back after being in space for who knows how long, and you have Skrulls who were, if I remember right, the Skrulls were promised by Fury to, like, Fury promised the Skrulls he would find them another home, and then he never did that, and so the Skrulls are fighting back, and they keep talking about how, I do remember they mentioned World War III like a bunch, like we're gonna start that, which is, so like that's the main premise, which I do like that premise, and I'm like, okay, I'm sold. But then the execution is just lame. I just remember the show being extremely underwhelming and forgettable. People are saying it's bad, and I, maybe it is bad. I'm not sure, but I don't remember it being like awful, you know? Actually, though, the AI intro, like that's definitely like, oh boy, we really gotta limit AI, guys. Like, come on, oh man, just thinking about that is, that's definitely the worst thing about it. Oh, and okay, and Maria Hill dies in this, which I did feel bad for. Talos died in there. I do remember feeling bad because like I kind of liked Talos. Amelia Clark had a character in this, but if what I try to remember, like she was Talos's daughter. Did they have a good connection? I think they might have. I'm not sure, but probably the most mocked scene in the movie is, of course, the whole bit at the end where Amelia Clark's character is fighting off Gravik. I think his name was Gravik. Like they become super scrolls and they fight each other, and you see them like have other characters' powers. The thumbnail I see all the time is like Amelia Clark like having Drax's arm like with the tattoos, and then she has like Mantis's antennas and like other stuff. A lot of people have mocked that sequence, and I mean, I remember finding it kind of cool. I thought it was kind of cool, but maybe it's bad. I'm not sure. It's definitely something I gotta rewatch because people are saying it's bad, and I don't remember it being like that bad. It's just in there because maybe it is, and I'm misremembering. I just don't remember it very well. It was just extremely underwhelming. I do remember though, anytime a new episode would come out, I just was just like, oh yeah, I gotta watch this, I guess. Like, oh, I'm not okay. Secret Invasion's got another episode. Let's watch it. It was that kind of attitude instead of, oh, I'm excited. Like, not that. If yeah. Um Loki season 2 came out next, but we'll save that for last. Let's talk about What If season 2, which was also an okay. I did not have very strong feelings on this. Like I remember liking season 1. Season 2 just kind of happened. I don't like, oh man, hold on. Like I'm trying to remember. I'm just pulling up the episode names so I can try and remember them. Hold on. Where is it? Okay, here it is. Okay, so the first episode, what if Nebula joined a Nova Corps? I didn't like that episode. I mean, it's kind of cool, but also it was just kind of boring. I don't remember it very well. What if Peter Quill attacked Earth's mightiest heroes? Now that was actually pretty interesting. It's in the 80s, and you're seeing a young Peter Quill being abducted, but instead of Yondu taking, like, keeping him like in the movies, he instead takes him to Ego, and then Peter comes back as a kid in the 80s and fights the Avengers in that time. Like Hank Pym, Lawrence Fishburne's character, and Howard Stark and Peggy Carter. Who else was there? There's somebody else there. Oh, Thor was there, and Hope Van Dyne, but as a kid, like it was cool seeing those characters all come together to fight him. And then of course Peter. reconcile has sort of a similar, not really similar arc to Volume Two, but different enough, but sort of similar, where he eventually just rejects his dad and is like, "No, we're not ending all the worlds like you want me to." It was kind of fun. I do remember that. What if Happy Hogan saved Christmas? The Die Hard episode. That's literally what it was. It was like Justin Hammer infiltrates the Avengers Tower, and Happy Hogan has to stop him. That is literally Die Hard. And oh, Happy also like injected Hulk blood into himself, and then he turned into like his own Hulk. That was okay, sure. Um, it was fun seeing Justin Hammer again. Voiced by Sam Rockwell, who played him in Iron Man 2. It was really fun seeing him and hearing Sam Rockwell's voice. Um, it's pretty much the best highlight. Oh, it's cool seeing Justin Hammer, but not much else I could think of. It was the Christmas episode. And then what if Iron Man crashed into the Grand? What if Iron Man crashed into the Grandmaster? So like season one had Gamora pop up at the end of the finale, and this is sort of like the Gamora who's wearing Thanos' armor. They had an episode for her in season one, but then they eventually cut it and put it in season two, and this is that episode. I remember liking it. Like it was fun seeing more Tony Stark, obviously. He crashes into Sakaar. I don't know why. Why didn't it say crash into Sakaar instead of the Grandmaster? Um, but yeah, Gamora is in that episode where she eventually does, of course, kill Thanos at the end, and it's a racing episode too, which I do like racing, and it was kind of cool. Um, yeah, and obviously there's more Jeff Goldblum too, which is always a win. What if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper? So, like, this is of course the sequel episode to Captain Carter's episode in season one, where she fights Steve Rogers inside the Hydra Stomper. So, unlike that previous episode, which was pretty much a beat for beat redo of Captain America: The First Avenger, this is kind of a redo of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, but it doesn't like copy paste the plot. Like instead of Hydra, it's the Red Room that has the Hydra Stomper, and you'll have and the Black Widows are all coming in to fight Natasha. So and I mean, he does have the same ending where Steve goes against the Red Room and though he destroys them, and yeah, it was fun. It was fun those too, seeing Bucky really old, and yeah, not much else I can think of. Yeah, I mean, I do like Captain Carter. It is cool seeing more of her. Um, what if Kahori reshaped the world? Oh yeah, Kahori. Yeah, like that was the one. Okay, I will say though. Oh, aside from like the Watcher and like Doctor Strange at the end, like the entire episode is around these Native Americans, and like the Spanish come in, and they all speak in their own languages. Like they don't translate it to English. You have to read the subtitles if you don't speak their language. I do like that. Like Shang-Chi had the same thing. Like let's just actually have these other people speak their own language instead of forcing them to speak English. Like I like that. But other than that, I don't remember the episode very much. It's just kind of, oh, here's a new character, Kahori, who has the powers of the Tesseract, but not much else. Like, yeah, I don't remember the rest of the episode very well. Uh, what if Hela found the 10 rings? Oh yeah, so yeah, Hela, instead of being put in a prison, she's banished to Earth, similar to how Thor was in his first Thor movie, and she ends up meeting up with Wen Wu, and and she and she has a redemption arc. Yeah, that's right. She falls in love with Wen Wu and then has a redemption arc where she, yeah, I guess that's, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't really have much. Actually, the one thing I do remember really liking about that episode was seeing Odin kicking butt. Like in the Thor movies, the only time you ever really saw Odin in action scenes, if I remember correctly, it was mainly like the flashbacks. This, like, we actually do see Odin fighting, and I really like that. Like, he's Odin, and it is really cool seeing how powerful he actually is whenever he's fighting. And then, what if the Avengers assembled in 1602? Oh yeah, it was kind of fun seeing the Avengers in a different time period. Like, um, yeah, I don't remember that episode very well either. Just kind of, oh, okay, cool, different time period. Captain Carter pops up into that world, and like, there was that whole thing about that world coming to an end, and she prevents it, if I remember right. Yeah, I guess there's that too. And then what if the Strange Supreme intervene? So that's the finale episode where that evil Doctor Strange from last season is trying to resurrect his own timeline, the one where he tried to save Christine and then destroyed it. Now he's trying to resurrect it, and Captain Carter and Kahori are trying to stop him. And it was one of the most underwhelming finales I've ever seen. I feel like most of it was action. It was just kind of, oh, okay, sure. It was kind of interesting the way it ended with Strange dying. He saves his own universe, but he dies, so he's not able to be in it. That's kind of interesting. But, oh, actually, the way I do like how it ends with the Watcher letting Captain Carter see the Loki tree. Like, that was kind of fun. But other than that, I don't really remember it very well. So I guess my favorite episode, yeah, I think it might be what if Peter Quill attacked Earth's Mightiest Heroes. That might be it. But I'll have to see it again because it didn't really leave that much on me, much impact on me. It just kind of happened, and I kind of watched it. And then finally, we of course have Loki season 2, the only other thing that people are unanimously praising in the MCU, and for good reason. Yep, I do like Loki season 2. I think I slightly prefer season 1. I mean, Sylvie definitely had more to do there, but season 2 was definitely really solid. Like, it's insane how the scene where Loki and Mobius are just eating pie and talking, that scene is one of the most interesting scenes in the entire MCU. It's fun how a scene where two characters are just chatting is interesting. That's how good it is. And you have the stakes being raised about, the multiverse is going around, but we're not gonna, the TVA have changed where we're not pruning those timelines anymore because there are people living on those timelines. We're not going to prune them anymore. But of course, the TVA wasn't designed that way. Like, He Who Remains designed it in a specific way. So, and we get more Jonathan Majors in this with Victor Timely, and I do like his performance there, where he does feel different from the other variants, and also I don't know how to pronounce the actor's name, but Short Round, the actor who played him, he was in Everything Everywhere All at Once. It is really cool seeing him in this. I just like he's a really fun actor. Always steals the show, and and we did finally see Mobius on a jet ski. Like, it is weird that we all wanted to see that, but here it is. And although Owen Wilson never said wow, I don't think he did. And the whole last couple episodes were insane, like really cool. You of course have Loki's trying to like figure out how to fix the whole thing, the temporal loom and all that, but then they fail, and episode 4 ends with the whole thing disappearing. The TVA is gone, and then the next episode picks up with Loki like, teleporting all over the multiverse and trying to figure out how to like try and figure out how to control his teleporting and how is he going to save the TVA. And he tries and tries. He goes through centuries trying to figure it out. He goes through like trying to learn everything that Short Round learned. Oh, his name's Obi. Trying to learn everything that Obi learned, but then of course it doesn't work because that's not how He Who Remains designed it. And so Loki, of course, goes in and fixes the whole thing himself, and becomes that whole tree with his comic accurate costume and holds it all together. And it is really, really cool. Oh, like man, remember like Loki started off as a villain and he ends up caring about all the people and he brings it all together. It's really cool. Oh, like seriously, how far Loki has come. Just I don't think season 3 is gonna happen because that is the perfect place to stop. No, we don't need any more Loki after that. As much as I like Loki and think he's really interesting, this is where the perfect place to stop. Especially since Tom Hiddleston has said he's done after this, if I remember right. So, yep, pretty great stuff. And definitely something I need to watch again too, just to remember how good it is too. Because yeah. So, so that is my Phase 5 MCU tier list. This and so 2023, not a fantastic year. Really, only Guardians 3 and Loki season 2 are great, and the rest are just kind of there. The rest I didn't really care about that much, but oh well. So, I mean, it is nice knowing that for this year, the only movie that's coming out is Deadpool 3. Like, I do like that Marvel are like uh spacing out the release dates for the movies, like giving them a little bit more time. Like that is nice. Is give like hopefully giving the visual effects artists more time to finish their visual effects. And I haven't watched Echo yet, but knowing that it's TVMA already has me interested. Like, okay, let's see what you got for us. And I'll probably watch the first episode after I finish recording this video. So, yep, not much else to say except I will get my DCEU tier list after this sometime. So that'll be it for now. So, peace.